Welcome to the CramerSez Project. My name is Tim Kramer. Over the last 5 years, I've taken to social media with one message. The mainstream media is nothing but a bunch of lying whores, and their buddies in government aren't any more trustworthy. Now, for that, I've been called a crackpot, a conspiracy theorist, and worse. But I'm not wrong. If there's anything that we've learned over the last few years, it's this. The American government has a rich history of gaslighting the American people.
Remember Operation Mockingbird? That's when the CIA straight up planted propaganda in the media to control what you think. Or how about the Gulf of Tonkin hoax that dragged us into Vietnam on fabricated attacks? And don't get me started on Bill Clinton denying his affair with Monica Lewinsky while the media played cover-up.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Now, today's politicians and bureaucrats and mainstream media pundits would have you believe that that's all ancient history. It's not. The same exact thing is happening right now today. Where's the mainstream media on reporting on these issues? Well, they're involved. They can't report on these issues. If they do, they'll lose their cushy jobs. So what do? They keep their mouths shut and go along with the status quo.
Take the Russia collusion hoax as the perfect example of why the CramerSez project is needed now more than ever. The mainstream media shoved that bogus Steele dossier down our throats for years as proof of Trump-Russia ties, knowing the entire time it was all lies from the opposition research of the Hillary Clinton campaign and dirty tricks courtesy of the FBI. Then there's Hunter Biden's laptop. Remember that one? They called it Russian disinformation with 50 intel hacks backing the lie. And who can forget the performance of Rachel Maddow on MSNBC?
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person.
You can't get it and you can't pass it on. That's not news. That's propaganda. The coup de grace is CNN's joke of a chyron. Remember this one?
What you're seeing behind me is one of multiple locations that have been burning in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Cable news has become a joke. The reporter, standing in front of a burning community with a straight face, calls the devastation and destruction we're witnessing mostly peaceful.
This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly.
If you haven't realized it yet, they've given up pretending. They have no problem lying straight to your face. Real journalism means telling the truth, even if it costs you everything. And that's why we've launched the CramerSez Project.
The CramerSez Project is the first citizen-powered news outlet fighting for free speech by mercilessly holding government and corporate leaders accountable.
Yeah, you probably haven't heard that word in a while. Accountability. Isn't it refreshing? Isn't it nice to know that there's someone out there working to hold people accountable for the crimes they commit against you and I? But it's not easy. Nope, you've got to take a big, bright light and shine it into the shadows because that's where these people lurk. And that's what the CramerSez Project is all about.
We won't take a single dime from advertisers, not 1 cent. Why? Today, Big Pharma is the single biggest advertiser in the U.S., spending billions of dollars each year in advertising on your favorite news networks, even outlets like Fox News, Newsmax, and OAN. But not a single one of these networks has the courage to investigate the stories that are most important to you and your family's health because of one thing.
Economics. The bottom line, getting paid. That's what it's all about. Nothing more, nothing less. These networks would go broke, belly up, the moment that they started investigating their biggest client, Big Pharma. So they don't. And you stay ignorant to the facts, they get richer, and America gets sicker.
And Big Pharma will never allow the news outlets they're keeping afloat to investigate the potential harms of their experimental drugs.
But the CramerSez Project is different. How? Simple. We are completely ad-free. We don't take a dime in advertising. We're funded 100% by your monthly subscriptions and donations. So, at the end of the day, we answer to you, not the corporate overlords.
This is your chance to join the fight to protect free speech and hold big government, big business, big tech, and big pharma accountable. Join the fight today at thecramersezproject.com.
You're watching CramerSez.
Yeah, I knew I was going in and fix that, but I didn't do it. We are running a systems test right now and making sure that everything works. You can try all you want, But until you go live, you don't know if it works when you go live. So that's what we're doing. So while I'm doing this, other people are behind the scenes doing other things, making sure that things are actually doing what they're supposed to do. Hopefully, you're hearing me correctly. You're seeing me correctly. The audio is synced. My lips is synced. That we've had a problem with that. It keeps drifting, and we think that it's one check mark of one product that we're using, one application, and we're hoping that this fixes it. But in the meantime, while they're doing what they're doing, let's talk about some important stuff here, and they'll continue to work behind the scenes. If it's not synced, hopefully it syncs up while I'm talking here, and they'll figure it out. But let's talk about the breakdown of recent revelations of the unconstitutional Arctic frost probe. Remember that? That's when Jack Smith was brought in. There's a whole story behind it. I'm not sure if you know this, that just previous to Jack Smith being tapped as the person who was going to be the attack dog for Trump, there was an accident. Jack Smith was involved in a severe accident and had broken his leg in several places. And he was so eager to take the job to be the attack dog against Trump that there was some question on whether he was going to be able to take the oath, and because of all the drugs that he was on to manage the pain that he was in from this broken leg. And so he stopped taking the drugs. He would endure the pain so that he could be the guy to go after Trump. That's how much Jack Smith wanted to be the guy. It wasn't just they tapped him. They came to him. Merrick Garland came to him and said, "Hey, listen, we're thinking about doing this." And they discussed it, and he says, "Yeah, I think I'll have to go off the drugs that I'm on because I'm pretty heavily medicated because of how painful this is. I'll have to go off the drugs so I can take on this drug." Or take on this this case. I don't think you understand what that means. That means that Jack Smith was willing to endure pain, personal pain, to go after Trump. He didn't have to do that. He chose to do that. That shows you the zealots that we have on the left going after Trump, and not just Trump, you. If you stand in between them and Trump, they'll go after you as well. That's what happened on January 6th. Anyway, let's get into this, see if this works. So we're going to see if the system stays in line and my lips continue to be synced. By the way, while we're doing this, we're going to try a new feature here as well. I think we can actually, if you want to, if you make comments, they'll actually appear now live on the screen. Is that right? Are we doing that right? Let's see if we can do this here. We take that and we go up here and can we do it? I think we can. There we go. Oh, there we go. They are showing up. Here we go. So there's the comments. So you can see them now on the screen. Hopefully you can see them big enough. I can't see them very big, but we'll hope that they show up big. We'll make them bigger for you. How's that? I'll make them wide too. That way everybody can see them. So as you make your comments actually show up on the screen now. Don't we live in a wonderful world? You know, it's amazing to me. We go through all of these hassles that we go through in life, and we live in the most advanced, technically advanced culture in history. And we can't seem to get along with each other. Don't you find that strange? We've got everything. Toilet paper, indoor plumbing, TV on demand. You can watch any show anywhere you want. As long as you've got a cell signal, you can enjoy the entire planet, and we just can't get along. Well, let's break into this unconstitutional Arctic frost probe. I'm going to read here for a bit. The Arctic frost probe refers to a sweeping FBI investigation launched in late 2021 under the Biden administration's Department of Justice, ostensibly to probe alternate elector efforts related to the 2020 election and potential ties to the January 6th Capitol riot. So pretty loosey-goosey on what they were looking for. And that's what that says here. Began as a narrow election security review, quickly expanded into what critics, including Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, Republican from Iowa, have called a, quote, fishing expedition and political weaponization, end quote, of federal law enforcement. Revelations in recent months, particularly since September of this last year, 2025, have exposed its scope, methods, and alleged violations of constitutional protections like the Fourth Amendment That's unreasonable searches and seizures. The First Amendment, free speech and association. These disclosures stem from whistleblower tips, declassified documents, and congressional oversight, painting a picture of partisan surveillance targeting the Republican ecosystem. That's their side spying on our side. That's fancy talk. Let's get into it. Number one, scale and targets, a broad dragnet of conservatives. Over 430 individuals. These are Americans that did nothing more than vote and then dissent against the outcome of the election. That's what happened. And for that, the FBI turned on the attack dogs and sent them under Arctic frost against American citizens who were just exercising their right. You have the right to say, I don't believe that was fair. It's not a threat against national security or democracy or the Constitution or our constitutional republic. It's not a threat to say, I trust that fucker. I don't think that what he's doing is honest. It's not a threat. It's the most American thing you can say or do, is to speak your mind. That's American. Utilizing your First Amendment rights is the most American thing you can do. But sometimes your words are harmful, yeah? Yep, if you call grandma a cunt at Christmas in front of the entire family, there are going to be consequences. But the government doesn't come and knock down your door. They did here. The government came after people. You see, that's the difference between the Jimmy Kimmel argument. They came after my free speech. No, ABC affiliates in the business world said, we don't like what you said. We're not going to carry you on our platform anymore. You violated their community guidelines, Jimmy. Sound familiar? Trust me, I know all about community guidelines. That's all that happened. The door wasn't kicked in. Jimmy didn't go to jail. That's free speech in motion. Jimmy got to say whatever he wanted. Now, there are consequences. The government can't give you consequences, though. The government can't come in and say, we don't like what you said, and therefore, we're going to invade your privacy. We're going to invade your home. We're going to violate your First and Fourth Amendment rights. They can't do that. It is illegal. That's why the Arctic frost probe was unconstitutional. But we didn't like what they said. Yeah. Yeah, what are you, 9? Grow the fuck up. This is the big boy world. And yeah, I said big boy, because big boys run the fucking planet. Not women, not feminists, men. Women don't have any rights that men aren't willing to go fight for, to defend. They don't have any of them. Do you understand that? I don't have any rights, then I'm not willing to defend with my life. They're permissions until I'm willing to put my life on the line to enforce them. That's what our founding fathers understood. They put their lives on the line. Over 430 individuals and 92 organizations were subpoenaed. The probe issued 197 subpoenas targeting hundreds of Republicans, including current and former Trump administration officials, GOP lawmakers, and conservative groups. This included phone metadata, call times, locations, and durations, donor records, media contacts, and even full credit reports from Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. They wanted to know what your credit rating was so they could use that against you in politics. You crazy about this Palantir thing? I'm not. But I love data. Having lots of data is a good thing. Having a lot of data in the hands of the wrong people it's a bad thing. And that's what we fear most. Can we trust these people with this information? They have proven time and time again, just like Arctic frost, that no, they cannot. We need to keep an eye on these fuckers. Government cannot be trusted to tell you the truth. Not because government is innately dishonest. It's because politicians are. The people with inside government are. Government is an inanimate object. It doesn't do shit. It's the people that are dangerous. So the key targets included political figures, 8 Republican senators, their phone records, including Rudy Giuliani, Trump allies, like Mike Lindell, he got attacked. Organizations, the Save America PAC, Trump campaign committees, RNC, Citizens United, America First Policy, Turning Point USA, My Pillow Inc., so on. The broader reach, GOP donor networks, conservative media outlets, and encrypted communication chains. Folks, they went after everybody that was dissenting. Everybody. It wasn't just a little here and a little there. It was everybody. They were looking at everybody. I said this morning on a live that the most deadly thing that Democrats do is not silence me. Silencing one person doesn't do shit. Keep you from being able to hear what you want to hear, that is what's deadly. That's the other part of what they did here. Revelations now show the probe ballooned from limited open source media reports into a metadata dragnet, pulling without individualized warrants, echoing general warrants banned by the founders. General warrants. Hey, we think all these people are responsible for doing something, so we just want to go look at everybody. That's a general warrant. That's illegal. It's unconstitutional. Our founders said, nah, you can't do that. In fact, they believed in it so strongly that they went out and they gave their lives. They put their lives on the line. Today, you're just screaming and yelling online. You're not really doing anything. You're not willing to give your life. In fact, most people are even unwilling to go vote in the primaries. They just wait until the party gives them somebody to vote for in the fall, then that's what they go do. They go vote in that election. When the candidate has been chosen by the party, you see, the fall is the party's election. The spring is the people's election. That's when you get to pick among everybody that's running. And if more people would vote in the primary, you could get term limits. You keep screaming about it. You keep yelling about it. We want term limits. You got term limits. They're called elections. It's a term. It's the end of a term. They have come to the end of their term. It's done. Over. If you don't vote for them, they don't return. Term limit. They have a term limit. 2, 4, or 6 years. You're expecting them to give themselves a term limit? Nope. Constitution already does it. They're not going to give themselves another one. You only want them to be able to stay in Congress for so long. That's on you, not on them. Let me ask you a question. If you had a job that paid you $175,000 a year, plus you could get into all kinds of other shit, would you be doing that? Would you want that ended? You only got to work 3 days a week. You get all kinds of perks. You get to rub elbows with movie stars and other high-end politicians. Would you ever put an end to that? Absolutely not. They're not going to either. That's why the founders did. They gave themselves a term of 2, 4, or 6 years. For that to work, though, you got to do your part. You don't vote for him in the fall. You vote for the new guy in the spring. We've got that opportunity coming up in 2026. You want to term limit some fuckers? You really want term limits in place? Then term limit them. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, hey, we shouldn't vote for this guy over here. He's been there 40 years. Let's term limit that bitch. Let's give Bob over here. Let's give Joe over here an opportunity. Let's give Steve, he's been bitching about what's going on in D.C. Let's give him the opportunity. And by the way, let's not just stop at D.C. Let's do the whole legislature. Let's just replace all of them with people that think like we do. Because when you wait for the party to give you the person that they say thinks like you do, we get what we've been getting. Do you think these people really think like we do? The evidence says otherwise. The evidence says they're thinking like the people that pay them think. The people that back their campaigns think. That's who they're paying attention to. And it doesn't change, folks. It doesn't get any better if you stay out of it and say, well, nothing's ever going to change. It's all broken. You're right. The system is broken if you don't participate. You have to be a part of your own fight for your individual rights and freedoms. They're yours. They're not mine to defend. Your rights are not mine to defend. My rights are mine to defend. That's what I work for. I couldn't give two shits about yours. But together, we can defend each other's. Listen. You help me defend mine, I'll help you defend yours. That's how it works. But if you're unwilling to do that because you say the system is broken, then you're the problem. You're that person on the deserted island that refuses to do any work because we're on a deserted island. It all sucks anyway. What the fuck? You're right. It does suck. But our founders knew something. They knew that we were a nation founded on a more perfect nation. Not the perfect, more perfect. Better today than yesterday. Never perfect, but almost there. Working at it every day. Folks, you've got people that scream and yell about things that happened 100 years ago because that's all they have. But, yeah, it was horrible back then. I would have hated to be this or that back then. We're not there now. Our system works. Things are so good that you got to complain about something that happened 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, 400 years ago. That's all you got. We live in a society today where you can go take a shit inside, get hot running water wherever you want to go. That's the society we live in. And you're fucking complaining that the reason you're not successful is because of that person and that person and that person. Meanwhile, the things that really matter, Arctic frost, them violating rights, you're silent on. You think somebody else is going to fix the problem. Folks, they're not going to fix the problem. They're happy with the way that they are. They're good with the way things are right now. The status quo loves the status quo. It's like I said earlier, if you've got a great job and you're making tons of money and you only have to work 3 days a week and you're looked at as a superhero, by certain groups of people, if that's the case, why would you change that? Nobody would change that. You'd be out of your mind to change that. You'd have to be insane to say, you know what? I don't want this anymore. I think I want to go back to the way things were when I was just a normal person working 5 days a week, making the median income, and nobody looked up to me. They don't do that. You have to do that to them. I did a live this morning where I talked about the fact that this is the playground. The Arctic frost probe just proves it's a playground. You've got people on the playground. Remember that? They would lie to you. They would cheat you. They would take your lunch money. They would beat you up. They would call you names. All of that, that's what happened in Arctic frost. I've been talking about it for a long time. Life is nothing but the playground. You think that we all grew up. We got bigger, but nobody grew up. Some of us matured, but nobody grew up. Everybody is the same. The guy that was the asshole on the playground when you were in 8th grade, the guy that dunked your head in the toilet your senior year of high school, those people are exactly the same. They never changed. What worked for them then has continued to work for them now. There's these movies where they show that, hey, I was a bully in high school, but I learned the error of my ways. Ever actually seen that happen in real life? You haven't, because it's not realistic. It's all bullshit. People do not change. I've seen some alcoholics become non-alcoholic, but they're always an addict. I've seen addicts that stop doing the drugs that they were doing, but they're always addicts. What I mean by that is they just move that addiction into something else. A buddy of mine was a hardcore drinker, womanizer. His life was in peril. And the moment that he realized, you know what, I can't live this way anymore. I'm going to stop all these addictions that I have, and I'm going to get into church. Guess what happened next? He was the guy that was at church 7 days a week, doing something, always there. That was his new addiction. He's an addict. He can't help himself. He's moved his addiction into a more positive area, but it's going to blow up at some point anyway, because that's what all addictions do, even if they're good addictions. You know why? Because he won't stop he won't stop the fuck talking about it. He's the new Christian. You know what I'm talking about? Well, you should know the experience that I have. Hasn't gotten any better, folks. His addiction has just moved. And instead of getting a phone call at 4 o'clock in the morning, can you come pick me up? I crashed my car. I'm drunk. I'm high. Can you come help me? It's now, hey, I know I called you last week about this, but would you be interested in doing this for my church and this and this and this? And when you want to come on Sunday, it's just as tiring, folks. Addiction is addiction. It doesn't stop anything. It just moves. If you're lucky, it moves to a better position, but just as tiring for everybody else. The addict is the addict. So they have these general warrants. Illegal, can't do that. should know that. They're lawyers. All of them are lawyers. They should know what the fuck is going on with the Constitution. Nope. Authorization and pretext. Top-down approval with thin justification. Now, you've probably heard the stories, but judges were just signing these warrants like crazy, like the Constitution didn't matter. Chunkin, Boasberg, so on. It didn't matter. And they didn't care that they were lied to. That's what's disgusting. We thought that when the judges found out that they'd been lied to, that they'd be pissed. No, judges were okay with it because the judges were in on it. They're complicit. They went along with the plan. They didn't enforce the Constitution. Signed off by Biden-era leadership, Attorney General Merrick Garland, Deputy AG Lisa Monaco, and FBI Director Christopher Wray personally authorized the probe in a memo with, quote, limited detail and basis, end quote, relying on public media similar to the Steele dossier. You know what Nancy Pelosi talked about, where stuff is inserted into the news and then the government and politicians and so on goes, so they point to that news story and say, see, that's what we're talking about. That's what this warrant's about. It's happening. It's been reported in the news. Nancy said that that's a common practice. That's what happened here. So they get a story put into the press and then they point at that as the reason why they need it. The White House allegedly coordinated the handover of Trump and Pence's government phones without subpoenas, a direct legal violation. They just came in and took them and then violated these rights. If this doesn't get taken care of and people aren't held accountable, folks, this just continues to happen. You have to demand it. You have to demand that these people that we voted into power and their authority with inside the bureaucracies and so on in this nation act in our benefit, not to protect them, not to protect the guilty, but to protect us and hold the guilty accountable. That's what our job is. They won't do it to themselves. Just like the people that refuse to term themselves, they are not going to hold their buddies accountable. They're not going to hold themselves accountable. Our voices have to be so fucking loud, demanding accountability, that they themselves go out and build the fucking gallows to hold these people accountable. That's when you know that you're moving in the right direction. When the politicians go, we got to do it now, come on. The angry mob is at the front gates. You have to take it. You have to start this. You have to be very, 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 very loud. Everybody on a daily basis. Calling state legislatures, calling your congressman. Oh, that takes time, Kramer. Then complain. Windmills. I'm telling you how it works. The louder you get, the more they pay attention. If you're just screaming and yelling on social media, they don't care. But you take that to their front door, you protest in front of their home at midnight. You start sending them letters and phone calls. And you tell them that you're watching them and you're coming for them. Trust me, you do it legal. You don't make threats against them. But you hold them accountable. You start doing that, they'll take notice. Trust me, I saw what happened after January 6th. Did you see that? They took notice. Pretext critique. Experts and GOP lawmakers, including Representative Jim Jordan, Representative out of Ohio, Republican out of Ohio, argue the justification treating routine alternate elector certificates sent to the National Archives every 4 years as criminal conspiracy. This was an act that everybody does. They're alternate. There was nothing illegal. There was nothing out of the ordinary. But all of a sudden, Democrats said it was, and the media took off with it. And suddenly, everybody who one day is saying, oh, there was no election interference, there was nothing, you can't do it. It's the most trusted system. All of a sudden, they're saying it's possible. And these electors somehow are going to flip the election. That's not the case, folks. As a criminal conspiracy was absurd and politically motivated. Career FBI agents reportedly warned it was illegal to do what they were doing. Didn't matter. They moved forward. Partisan elements pushed forward. Didn't matter. The means justify the ends. We can do whatever the fuck we want to do because we're doing it. We're in charge. But that's what Trump is doing right now, no? Do you see anybody being charged with a misdemeanor that they're going to flip into 34 felonies? You see that happening now? No. The thing that they're worried about is the truth getting out. That's what they're really, really, really concerned about. Cost and scope estimated at over $50 million. The Arctic frost probe morphed into Special Counsel Jack Smith's broader January 6th electors investigation targeting the entire Republican political apparatus. Very focused at the beginning, widened up to get everybody. It was off the rails, and it was unconstitutional what they were doing. You can't say this loud enough. It was unconstitutional. Up next, we'll talk about the timeline and the key disclosures of it. Again, we're testing. For those of you who don't know, we're testing our systems, making sure that things are actually working the way that they're supposed to work. Everything is synced. Hopefully, if you can tell me if my audio is synced or not. I can't tell until everything is over. But they're saying that it looks like we got things done. We'll be right back after this. I'll shut up and play the spot.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
CramerSez returns after this message from our partners.
Last week in our We Told You So series,
we warned GM investors that CEO Mary Barra was bad for business.
We were right.
Barra's love affair with EVs just cost stockholders $1.6 billion as GM takes a massive loss after Biden subsidies come to an end. Then, Paul Chesser reported Bank of America had no problem debanking conservatives.
This is an issue that NLPC's been investigating since the story broke,
but refused to expose Jeffrey Epstein's financial activities.
During the January 6th uprising, Bank of America scrubbed through its data and turned over credit card information without being asked, without being subpoenaed, without having a warrant given to them by federal law enforcement. At the same time, they were doing business with Jeffrey Epstein without question. And then after Epstein died, they suddenly realized, we need to report this activity. And they filed 2 suspicious activity reports, as they should have done when Epstein was still alive and still banking, but they didn't do so. They were basically covering up the business that Epstein was conducting.
But wait, there's more.
NLPC Chairman Peter Flaherty is calling for the indictment of John Brennan, the ex-CIA director who pushed the Russia collusion hoax, relied on the discredited Steele dossier, and lied to Congress.
According to the House Judiciary Committee, John Brennan committed crimes. We believe there's even more to the story, and we're going to stay on top of it.
That was last week. What's NLPC working on next? Find out by subscribing to the NLPC on this platform,
or by visiting us at nlpc.org.
To learn more about the CramerSez Project, our mission, and how you can become a part of it, please visit thecramersezproject.com.
You're watching CramerSez.
Welcome. My name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez Project. You know what? We're still having problems. I was just told that we're still having problems. Let me turn this off. It seems like we're still, the sync is still off. I don't know what the fuck is going on. It looks like the recording is good, everything else is good, but the sync with this audio, we'll see. We will see. It may just be in the stream. So we're doing this thing where we're recording and streaming at the same time, and hopefully one is correct. If they're both off, I don't know. I'm so fucking tired of this. Let's talk about the timelines and disclosures. Don't look at my lips. Just listen. In July of 2022, Grassley began the oversight of what's going on today after whistleblowers flag illegality. Members within inside the FBI came forward, members within inside government came forward and said, hey, listen, we got a problem here. The government is not acting in the people's best interest. They are being unconstitutional in their actions, and so we got to do something about it. Jump forward to September 16th through 18th. Intel docs reveal 92 targets, including TPUSA and RNC, called Soviet-style fishing expedition. October 6th, explosive FBI doc shows spying on 8 GOP senators. October 17th, Q&A details probe origins as election security review. October 23rd, Catherine Herridge exposes top-level sign-offs and metadata tactics. October 29th, all this year, all these dates within just the last few months are showcasing just how much the government was violating our constitutional rights. And we say, well, it wasn't mine, it is yours. Your constitutional rights are being violated if mine are, because you're next. If mine are being violated, so are yours. These rights belong to all of us. And when they violate one and then misrepresent what they found after violating it, folks, that is the end of this democracy, the end of this constitutional republic. By the way, they're both. I know somebody said, it's not a democracy. It is. I'm not going to get into that right now, but it's both. Being a dumbass, go look it up. If you don't trust me, go look it up. Yes, we are both. October 29th, 197 subpoenas unveiled, 160 plus Republicans probed, called worse than Watergate. This is just a few days ago. That what's going on right now, what happened in the last, was worse than Watergate. Again, there's some conjecture that Watergate may have been a situation where the CIA was involved in framing Nixon. There's some conjecture that might have been the case. And what's he going to say? I've been framed. The CIA framed me. I didn't do that. What's he going to do? Trump may not have been their first in this nation. We know they were involved with the assassination of JFK. They had their fingers in the assassination of RFK. I think it'd be naive to think that after we know what we know and how they operate, that they wouldn't set Nixon up because they wanted him out, because of what he wanted to end. He wanted to do the same thing. He wanted to get rid of the intel agencies like they were set up, just like JFK did. So they removed him. Conjecture. Could be, maybe not. These revelations have ignited bipartisan concern through mostly GOP-led, with outlets like the Free Press labeling it a real scandal, violating constitutional norms. Folks, the Free Press is not a far-right organization. So when they're saying it, we've got real issues. Given the Republican, okay, so what's most likely to happen next? Let's talk about that. Given that Republicans right now have the majorities in Congress and Trump is currently in power, here's what we can expect. Deep congressional probe. So the House Judiciary and Senate Judiciary committees will likely hold high-profile hearings, subpoena Garland, Wray for testimony, and refer cases to the DA for criminal review, potentially auditing the $50 million plus spent. Where did it all go? Who got it? Now, in the big picture, $50 million isn't a lot of money in government spending, but it is to you and I. And it is to somebody who got it, that benefited from it. The judicial challenges. Like Turning Point USA and the RNC are suing over unconstitutional surveillance. We can expect appellate court rulings striking down gag orders, with SCOTUS reviewing possible by mid-2026. So we're not even going to... This is what I've been talking about, is that we seem to think that there's going to be... what's the best way to put it? We're talking about timelines, right? That if you don't start things at a certain time, there's no guarantee that things don't change down the road and a new administration comes in and just wipes everything clean. Similar to what happened with Trump. The DOJ had all of these cases against Trump. Trump wins, comes in, all those cases gone. They've either been stalled or done away with altogether. So what's to stop that from happening? Well, you got to make sure that the cases are started in enough time that we can carry through with these. What they're relying on is that Republicans will remain in power going into, for example, 2028. That may or may not be the case. And so we've got to be aware that we've got enough time to pull these through, to get the cases tried. Corporate reckoning. Verizon's policy pledges could lead to broader telecom reform. So what happened is that the Biden administration went to these telecom organizations and said, hey, listen, we need to see all your records. They did it without a warrant, and they gave it up. In fact, Bank of America, for example, after January 6th, gave up records without even being asked. They just went to the DOJ, went to the FBI and said, hey, listen, we got all these records of all of these phone calls and all of these not phone calls, but transactions that were made in the D.C. area leading up to January 6th. Would you like them? We'll give them to you for free. That's what happened. Bank of America did that. Brian Moynihan over there is a jerk. He's a leftist. Longer term, 6 to 18 months, reforms like FISA, warrant restrictions, or an independent inspector general probe. If prosecutions follow, it could chill future DOJ actions, but risks politicizing justice further, mirroring post-Watergate reforms. We didn't see those reforms happen. They didn't come into fruition. I'm being told to do something. Hold on a second here. We're gonna check and see if this actually works. 7:32. Let's try that. Let's see if that works. See if this actually does anything. We'll see. We'll see if it lines things up a little bit. I don't know. We'll find out here shortly. Okay, so let's talk about who's most likely to be involved or implicated. The probe's architects face the hottest scrutiny, with whistleblowers and docs pointing to a chain of command. Here's the tiered assessment of who's currently involved. So high or direct authors. Now, they're looking at administration people, but we're going to have to look at administration leaders as well. So Barack Obama directly involved, Joe Biden directly involved, key administrators inside the administration that aren't agency holders. For example, chief of staff, so on. All of them will have to be called in. We'll have to call in, what's his name? It was the lawyer from Indianapolis that was the chief of staff. I can't remember his name. Anyway, you can expect Merrick Garland, Lisa Monaco, Christopher Wray, so on. They're involved. Jack Smith, these are called high operational targets. Jack Smith, the special counsel, used Arctic frost as the foundation for electors' case, accused of a partisan hit job. You've also got medium level. Judge Boasberg is a great example. How many times did he write questionable things and force gag orders and so on? And then you've got the unnamed rogue prosecutors and agents inside the FBI. They'll go after all of them. What we ought to look at also is what happened over there at Verizon and inside the phone companies when they gave up the information. Bank of America is another one. Is that these companies should not ever think that they have the freedom to give away your information without a warrant. They don't own that information. It's not theirs. It's yours. It's your personal data. You. It's not theirs. Well, you're on our platform. Doesn't matter. I'm unique. You can't give my unique information to the federal government without going through the proper channels. Doesn't matter how much of a patriot you want to be. If it was the other way around, and I found out that somebody that was a MAGA was responsible for something, I would not want their information shown. If you, a liberal, Antifa. No, I don't turn the tables and go, well, they've got a bomb plan. They got to do it. We got to violate their rights. No, you go through the process. If you don't go through the process, we don't have a nation. If you don't go through the process, you have to go through the process. You have to play by the rules. You may not like them, and they may get in your way, but you have to play by the rules. If you're not playing by the rules, you have to assume neither is the other side. And if the other side isn't playing by the rules, then why do we have the rules for? We'll wrap things up right after this.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
CramerSez returns after this message from our partners.
Franklin D. Roosevelt said,
"In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can be sure it was planned that way."
I don't make a habit of quoting FDR, but on this point, he's 100% right, which makes Vice President Vance's comments from last night even more important to pay attention to.
The only way to honor Charlie is to get to the bottom of exactly how this person was radicalized and who else was involved in it.
Hi, I'm Peter Flaherty, chairman of the National Legal and Policy Center. Since 1991, the NLPC has investigated and exposed the high crimes and misdemeanors of politicians and corporate leaders alike. Our mission is about one thing: accountability, not partisanship, just like Vice President Vance was talking about last night.
That is political terrorism, but it's not just the people who are killing the cops. It's not just the people who are engaging in throwing the Molotov cocktails and in the riots. Where was the money coming from? Who was organizing this violent activity? That is not going after Democrats unless by implication, you're saying every single Democrat is involved in planning political violence.
For the past several years, NLPC is focused on who's funding the violence on our streets and the radicalization of our kids. Oddly, the same names keep popping up. Names like Soros, Hoffman, and Gates. The protests and the riots aren't happening by accident. The violence is not spontaneous. The left's strategy is clear. Encourage arson, vandalism, and looting, and then blame the violence on the law enforcement response. The protesters are well-funded and equipped, and the NLPC is digging deep into exposing those responsible for supplying these groups with the masks, shields, and other devices being used to perpetuate violence in the name of social justice. To learn more about our mission or to join it, follow and share us on this social media platform or visit our website, nlpc.org.
To learn more about the CramerSez project, our mission, and how you can become a part of it,
Please visit thecramersezproject.com.
You're watching CramerSez.
Well, we're back, but it looks like we still don't have things fixed. I have no fucking idea what the fuck is going on. We have tried. We'll get it figured out. Everything else is synced. We can get everything else synced. We can't get the mic synced. We've done everything we're supposed to do. We've clicked all the knobs. We've done everything. Have no idea. If you know what the trick is, please hit me up at support@CramerSez.com. Please. If you'd like to join what we're doing, we're trying to, if you're not aware of what it is, I've got a big plan in place. And my plan is to launch an organic news service powered by citizens as opposed to mainstream media. My background is all broadcasting. I started out as a DJ when I was 16 years old. I've been doing this my entire life. You would think I'd be able to get this fucking mic figured out. Can't get it figured out. So, but other than that, the technical issues we'll work out. All the other stuff is easy. Broadcasting to the planet, getting stories together, those things are easy. We'll get this technical issue fixed and hopefully, let me see. You know what? Let's see. There's one more thing I can try. I'm going to try one more thing here while they're not paying attention. Let's see if I can do this real quick. I don't know if this will have anything to do. Let's see if that fixes anything. I don't know if it will. We'll see. We've tried everything, so either it did or it didn't. Let's see. It's good enough. It's not weird enough to make your head hurt. It is mine. I'm watching back and looking at it, and I see, what looks like an old Japanese movie from the 40s that has the new lip syncing issues, right? Hi, John. I can't do that. It drives me crazy. So we got to get it fixed. With that being said, thanks so much for joining. We will try and make things better. If you've got any questions about what the CramerSez Project is, get your butt over to thecramersezproject.com and check it out there. See if you want to join and help us. Maybe you know how to fix this. We would appreciate help.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
CramerSez returns after this message from our partners.
Thank you for watching CramerSez Live.
This concludes this broadcast.
Please follow, like, and subscribe to be notified the next time
The CramerSez Project goes live.